I had $13,000 worth of monthly savings ideas.
Wow.
$13,000. And then I thought, well, what happens if you could, save $200 or $500 a month using these ideas? What if you invested that over 10, 20 years? How much money would you have? And the numbers were astronomical.
You are now listening to the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, the Going North podcast. I'm your host, certified leadership trainer with the John Maxwell team and best-selling author of the book, Stay the Course, Dominic Dom Brightman. And you're going to be getting some wonderful tips and techniques to advance yourself coming up next. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GMP, the Great, Glorious, and Glamorous, it's the Going North podcast. And we got another super special, awesome human for you today, folks. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Because we got a special guest in the house, folks, y'all. That's right indeed. So, man, is all about that money, y'all. That's right indeed. He wants folks to have enough dollars so they can holler. Indeed. Because today's author in particular, a personal finance author, speaker, blogger, coach, as well as a recovering engineer who loves guitars. So let's give it up for Mr. GS himself, the man who's got the great mind, and he's a stud because he knows how to play the guitar. Let's give it up for Gordon Stein. How you doing today, Gordon?
Oh, really great. Never had an introduction like that, so we're off to a good start.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah, because what I saw on your Instagram bio about not a particularly great guitar player, but I see 5 guitars behind you. I'm like, wait a second. This must be a put on so that way he sets their expectations low and then surprises them later.
That's it.
But hey, it ain't just about the guitars, about the fabulous G himself. My goodness, my goodness. And as with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 50 days long, and I'm pretty sure there's a whole bunch of stuff I forgot, including your journey from recovering engineer all the way to personal finance author. So my goodness, how the heck did that even happen, my man?
You know what? I got interested in business more and more. I started off doing some engineering and technical things, and then I found the business was more interested than engineering, and then I really liked the people. And then I found a lot of the people on my teams, a lot of them are struggling with their money, and they'd say, hey, how do I build wealth? How do I stop living paycheck to paycheck? And so I had all that noodling in my mind, and then I had an insight or two, and that led to writing Cashflow Cookbook. So now I speak on the book full time and have a lot of fun with it and help a lot of people.
Amen to that. That's right indeed. Cashflow Cookbook indeed. That's right. That's right, folks. So, man, Gordon's come up with some new recipes, y'all. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. And don't worry, he didn't wear the chef hat for this one, even though that'll be for some excellent branding, though. Are there hidden photos on the internet of you wearing a chef hat with money in your hand by any chance?
I'm not, but maybe some of your listeners are. I'm not sure.
I just thought of that. I was like, oh yeah, Cashflow Cookbook, baby. Chef hat, the money in the hand. It's like, yeah, baby. That's right. Cooking up them wonderful money recipes. So my goodness. So what led to the title, man? Because if I'm not mistaken, this originally was going to be a fiction novel, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I had this insight on, it all began, I had this insight on how to get car washes for free, legally. And so it's just really about points at a gas retailer. And they had a little device that you could pay for your gas. You touch it to the pump and it would charge your credit card and it would put the points on your account. And then you could get free car washes. And, not that it's a big thing, but I thought this is really slick because there's no sacrifice. Didn't have to give anything up. Got the free car washes. Then that led to another insight on getting home alarm monitoring at significantly less price from those providers who do that. Who knew? So anyway, I started to see this pattern of these things, these ways of buying things that were actually easier, less hassle, and yet they saved you money. So I had the insights, I had these things going, and I built a big list of them, Dom, and there was, 100 and some odd, boiled them down to the best 60. And I had $13,000 worth of monthly savings ideas, $13,000.
Wow.
And then I thought, well, what happens if you could, save $200 or $500 a month using these ideas? What if you invested that over 10, 20 years, how much money would you have? And the numbers were astronomical. So I took it to my accountant and I said, hey, where's the math errors in here? And he looked it all over and he said, there's no errors in here. This would make a great book. And so I thought, all right, I'm going to write this thing up as a book. So I had an idea as a novel, and I had my characters and I had the plot and everything. I started to write it, and there was too many separate ideas. There was too many numbers, and I was frustrated. And I was out, working on something else, and then it popped in my head. This thing's more like a cookbook, and I went, oh my heavens, it's exactly what it is. It's the Cashflow Cookbook, and the name stuck. And the book's been out since 2017, 7 printings. And speaking on it in both Canada and the US. It was a newspaper column for a time, and just having a lot of fun and really helping people, because these are financial recipes that anybody can implement, save money, free up cash. For some folks, that's about paying down debt. For other people, that's incremental money for investing. So that's how it came to be.
Amen to that, my man. That's a powerful story indeed. And that's really just a testament to what it takes when you really use your head and actually think, and then recruit some other wise folks who are more experienced to confirm your thinking. Like, hey, wait a second, the number's actually right. Like, oh, this is freaking magic here. Like, my goodness, like the kitchen of their bank account is actually going to get a lot cleaner.
That's it. Never heard it put that way, but that's it. That's it.
Yes, indeed. Because heck, the subtitle itself, if I'm not mistaken, my goodness, what was it, 2 years or 10 years to like $2 million?
Well, that's it. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. That's right. $2 million of financial freedom in 60 easy steps. My goodness, my goodness. Like, that is freaking amazing. And my goodness, what makes it even better is that this book is filled with not only wonderful recipe titles, there's also some wonderful puns in there as well, indeed. So, my goodness. Like, have you ever made all these recipes yourself before naming them? Or was it just a dish that you looked up to match the story?
Well, I've implemented, I would say, pretty much everything that's in the book. I really have. And each one was more insightful than the other. And I wrote the book originally. The first edition came out in 2017, went through 7 editions, 7 printings, and just getting the US edition. It'll be out here in the US 1st of June or earlier of 2022 of this year. And I came across one that I hadn't thought of before. And I actually think it's the biggest recipe in the book, a whole area that I hadn't even considered. Just put it together, and it's something that could add up to thousands and thousands of dollars for people. So always learning and always picking up new ideas.
Does it involve cryptocurrency?
No, I don't know. Do you want to know about that one? The newest recipe?
Oh, yes, indeed.
Well, it's interesting. I was in Canada for a lot of years, and I came to the US, and what I didn't realize is you have no credit rating when you come to your new country, in my case, the US. So, I went from a world where I had lots of credit cards with a great limit and everything. I came here, I couldn't get a credit card with a $300 limit. I had to leave $300 on deposit at the bank. And I had literally no credit score. And I didn't realize, but then I came to realize that affects everything. If you don't have a good credit score or any credit score, you pay much, much more for house insurance. You pay more for car insurance. And if you want to take out a loan, you can end up paying 70% more interest over the term of the loan. So lots of people, I never looked at my credit card. I think I was paying my bills on time, but people who are a little bit loose with that, they'll get around to paying their gas bill. They miss it by a few days, no big deal. They didn't shut off the gas, but they might be injuring their credit rating. And so they might be paying, let's say 8 or 9% on a loan for their car or their truck versus paying maybe 3 or 4%. And when they go to pay their car insurance, they might have to pay $2,000 a year when they might be able to pay $800 a year. So this is the kind of thing, by doing a little bit of attention on your credit score, understanding where it's at, and getting rid of errors on the report and just kind of tuning it up, being careful to pay things on time. That alone could be worth hundreds of dollars a month. And the thing is, you didn't give up anything. A lot of these personal finance books say, oh, you've got a budget and you got to save 10%, you got to give up all the things you love. Well, most people don't want to give up the things that they love, and budgeting is not a lot of fun. But the whole point of the book is these recipes They go through every part of your life, Tom. So whether it's housing or transportation or food or household lifestyle, financial kinds of things, I learned that there's a better way to buy every possible category of product or service without giving up anything and freeing up a lot more money to have more fun in life or to build more wealth or to get yourself some freedom.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And learn something new too. So my goodness, so moving to the US, basically you're resetting yourself to zero credit wise. Like, wow, I wonder if that's the
Yeah,
same for other countries.
it's pretty surprising. It's one of those things you don't really think about. But, with these recipes, and there's some differences between the countries. One of the ones here that was quite interesting to me is prescription drugs are much more expensive in the US than they are in Canada. But there's ways to save a lot. So I, had a drug prescription, I had to get it filled. And I was able to save 96% on the price of my prescription.
Wow.
96%. And most people, they get a prescription from their doctor, and lo and behold, there's a pharmacy right there. So fortuitous. Aren't I lucky? There's a pharmacy. And they walk in, they give them the prescription, and they pay the price. But a little bit of shopping around, and the pills that I take, for example, I was at one of the big chain drug companies, and it was $107 a month for these pills that I need. It's not a massive sum, but I need these things for the rest of my life. Did a little bit of shopping around, and I found you can get a drug card at these major pharmacy companies, and it dropped the price to $62 a month. I thought that's pretty good. Telling my brother-in-law about the story, and he said, no. He says, you want to go to this online pharmacy that I shop with? So I look it up, $13 a month. I thought, wow, this is dropping from 107 to 63 to 13. I thought, we're not done yet. Did more
Wow.
research. I found another online pharmaceutical drug company, $7 a month delivered to my house. So here's $100 a month. You could pay down some debts with it. You could increase your investment, your 401k, your IRA, whatever you need. So just as an example, between this monitoring your credit score carefully, that could be worth $200 or $300 a month for somebody. Buying these pharmaceutical drugs, legal ones, prescription drugs, at 96% off, there's another $100 freed up. So you start to see the pattern, and this goes into every aspect of our lives. And that's where I detailed all of it out when I wrote Cashflow Cookbook, section by section, 10 recipes in each of these 6 categories that we're talking about. And that's the idea.
Yeah, that's freaking amazing, dude. Like, especially the pharmaceutical tip, because a lot of folks may be like, all right, I need to buy this book just to figure out what website he's talking about.
That's it. Yeah. Well, these things make a big difference for people.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Especially as a lot of us tend to age and stuff tends to want to sleep a little quicker than other body parts. It's like, oh crap, I don't want to be on the pill, but it's like, okay, fine, I guess I'll cave in. And then you see the original price. It's like, what the heck? Why is this $300 before insurance? Like, what the heck? And just save that money. Like, it definitely helps a lot. And heck, even you even have a dry cleaning recipe as well in the book, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, pretty much every aspect of everything you do, there's a smarter and less costly way to do it. Another example, it's interesting, we talk a bit about food. People go to the grocery store, and they often buy, fresh fruits and fresh vegetables and so on. If you get frozen stuff, it can be, half the price, a quarter of the price, or even less. So, that's the sort of thing where you don't really realize, or, buying generic products, they typically run about 25% less. So you make a handful of these really simple changes. And another one that I just discovered this year, my wife actually tipped me off, is if you join the loyalty card club at your grocery store, the grocery store we shop at here, and there's really just the two of us, my wife and I, in the house. So we get the loyalty card, you get it scanned each time you buy your groceries. There's no coupon clipping. There's no driving to 3 different stores. We save $1,200 a year just from having that card. So that's the sort of thing, 10 minutes to sign up, there's another $100. So for tracking the things we've talked about so far, probably a good $500 a month zero change to the lifestyle. That's what we're talking about.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Big savings indeed. So my goodness, man's been dropping some wonderful tips and ideas for folks to consider. And some folks may be like, where the heck do I start? So any advice for folks when it comes to their starting point with all this finance and the wonderful kitchen, aka bank account and their money?
Well, I think, lots of personal finance books will say, okay, you start by establishing your emergency fund and you start by budgeting, whatever. I don't think that's the place to start. I, love the cooking puns all through the book. So one of the things I talk about is you want to start by broiling a bill. And if you take, what I'd suggest to folks is if you take a sheet of paper, a spreadsheet, whatever you want, or look at your bank account, what are all those recurring monthly bills, the various kinds of house taxes, the car insurance, the home insurance, the life insurance, the cell phone bills, all of these things, whatever comes out of your account every month, you make a list of them and you go after them one by one. And with a little bit of work, you can drop, I will guarantee you can drop any of those bills by 20, 30, 40%. And they're all a little bit different. They all need to get tackled in a bit of a different way. And that's what I go through in Cashflow Cookbook. Each kind of bill, what are the tips? And then I show you some worked examples of how much you could save on it. But if you do that, example would be your cell phone bill, or even comparing car insurance. There's some great online sites where you can go on and enter your data about your car. It takes you about maybe 10 minutes to put in the data. And you can even say, hey, here's the coverage I have now. I have this much liability. You line it up. So the whole thing's apples to apples. I did that on my car insurance. The swing was $320 from the lowest cost provider to the highest cost provider, $320 a month. That's on 3 drivers and 3 cars in my case. But you can pretty much guarantee you're going to see a swing of at least $100 a month. And these are all reputable companies. So there's an example. So you take one bill, I call it your broil a bill. You broil that bill down to size, and then immediately you take that money and you go after your biggest issue. Maybe you got credit card debt. So you free up $100 or $200 a month right away. You're going to apply it and pay down that debt. Or if you're in good shape, you don't have a lot of debt, you're going to give that to your financial advisor. So there's another $100 or $200 or $500 a month going in. But that's the place to start. I think once people do that on one bill, it's really going to change their headspace, and they're going to go in and go after each and every one of those bills. And I would track your savings. How much were you able to free up on each of them? And it can really take people to a different place. It could mean earlier retirement. It could be a year's sabbatical. It could mean a bigger donation to a charity or a church or whatever's important to people. And that's the great place to start.
Boom. That's what I'm talking about indeed. That's what I'm talking about indeed. And it's good too. Well, folks already know like the show is pun heavy indeed, and the puns are heavy in this book indeed, and definitely want to broil the bill, y'all. That's right, broil it. That's right. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Just don't work on broiling it too long, or you'll set the whole house.
Well, and the thing is, you don't want to say by giving up on insurance or any of those kinds of things. You want to have all the solid things in place. You just want to get a little bit smarter. There's no yelling, there's no screaming. You don't have to swear at anybody. There's an easy way to lower each and every one of these bills. And that's, the thing we're talking about. One that's really quite interesting that surprised me when I did the research on the book is clothing. And when I do a lot of public speaking about financial wellness, and whenever I say, clothing as a category, you can just see people go, no, I like my nice clothes. But the stats tell me we only ever wear 20% of the clothing that we buy. And what does that mean? That means you could slash your clothing bill in half and not impact, your style, not one bit. And so there's another interesting one. And, we've all been through it. Lots of different ways to look at it. Maybe you're out in the mall one day and you see this fabulous, blue sweater. It looks really great, real fancy designer brand. It's on sale. You can't go wrong. So you buy this thing and you bring it home. You're all excited about this new sweater. And you rummage around your closet to file it with your other sweaters, and you find another one almost exactly like it. Because you weren't shopping for something you needed. You were just shopping, Or another way to look at it, I worked at a company and we used to do this coat drive every year, to provide coats for the homeless, which is a wonderful cause. And so, the first year we did it, I said to my family, we're a family of 5 at the time, let's everybody bring your coats downstairs, and coats you don't want. I filled garbage bag after garbage bag with all these coats. Took them in and we built this coat mountain, and we donated it all to the homeless. So they had warm coats for the winter, which was great. And then they said, okay, we're gonna do it again. A year later, they said, okay, we're gonna do the coat drive again. I thought, well, how's this gonna work? We already cleaned out everybody's house. No. So I said to my family, okay, guys, anybody have any coats left? I think it was almost as big of a pile the second year. And, we just waste so much money. Or if you watch, what's her name, Marie Kondo, the tidy up lady on Netflix. And she goes into people's houses. They come up with bags and bags and bags of stuff. And the focus of the show is all about tidying up and reducing clutter in the home. And that's all great. But I always look at these bags and I think these bags have got to be $500 each, at least, of clothing. And there's bag after bag after bag. And this is probably the same family that's living paycheck to paycheck, saying we can't make ends meet. And they're buying all this stuff, and it's all getting chucked out when Marie Kondo comes to their house. Or if she doesn't come, it's just living in cupboards somewhere and not getting used. So much opportunity for people to build financial wellness.
You can say that again. And you're so right about that 20% thing, because I was like even just doing some self reflection a couple of years ago, especially back like at the near it right before COVID started. I was looking at my Sunday attire, and I have a
Mhm.
whole bunch of ties and inherited my dad's tie collection. And I only rotate between 10 out of like 50 ties.
Right.
Like 10 out of 50. So it's like, you're so right. We only wear 20% of stuff, especially if you got like a favorite pair of jeans or something.
Yeah, and so you get on that case, you get and they're all different. That's what's interesting. Like if you take something like your house taxes, people say, "Oh, that's my house taxes. What are we going to do?" Well, in just about every area I can think of, you can go and appeal your house taxes. Now, you can't switch house tax providers because there is only one. It's your municipality. So that's what you do on the house taxes. And clothing, you want to shop a little bit more mindfully. Different one each one. Things like gas and electricity and water bills. You can shop them. I don't think with great effect, but you sure can reduce your consumption quite a bit. So lots of ideas in the book about how do you do that without any kind of an impact. Reducing electricity costs and how much natural gas you're using to heat your house. Lots of easy tricks for these things. So, you knock down all of your bills by 20 or 30%, you're in a really different kind of financial place. And that's where I'd like to see everybody.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So, since you've been on a few of these podcasts before, I'm sure you get asked all sorts of wonderful questions. But is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often?
I guess, one that's interesting is, what holds people back from doing this, you know? So you can ask that.
Yes, it is. What holds people back besides snowballs?
Well, a lot of people say, I don't have the time. And, I did a little bit of looking into this, and on average, as Americans, we spend 3 hours a day watching TV, 3 hours a day. So that's, you got 20 hours a week. So if you gave up TV for 1 week and, a copy of Cashflow Cookbook in hand and went after all of your bills, let's say you got 10 bills, maybe it takes you 2 hours to look at some alternatives to implement the steps in the book. In 1 week, you might be able to free yourself up $500, $1,000. I've seen people free up $1,500, even $2,000 a month of savings, and that's a huge, huge difference, particularly when you look at the effects of compounding out over time, and that's making a really big difference. And if you put it this way, if you can free up $400 a month from age 20 to age 60, you made it a point to free up $400 a month right from your first started working. That's $1 million, right? And some of these things, and that's what's interesting when I did the book, with each of these ideas, I had what I call the hearty serving. So maybe you've got a family and they've got, there's 5 in the family, they've got a cottage maybe, and they've got a house, they got a couple cars. So these things start to make a big difference. So I'll work out a scenario for every one of these recipes. What would it look like for a family potentially? And then what would that be worth to them after 10, 20, or 30 years of investing or saving that money? And then we talk about a light serving, which is a single person. Maybe they're in an apartment, maybe they've got a car, maybe they don't have a car, but it shows what that might look like for them. And then we see it after 10, 20, 30 years. And it's remarkable. Something that you wouldn't have even have thought of is worth, $250,000 or $500,000 to your retirement. It's really quite remarkable.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So it sounds like my man's been making meal plans for folks' finances for years. That's what I'm talking about.
But you know what? It's worth taking a look at. And you know what's interesting? The American Psychiatry Association tells us that money is our number one stress. So here's some easy ways out of that without giving anything up. I think it's something everybody can do to make their lives a lot easier.
Oh, yeah, it's true. It's like, yeah, it's like folks run out of money before they run out of month sometimes, and now more than ever.
Well,
It's
that's
like,
it. And now, the interest rates are rising up, price of gas going up, inflation so high, and everybody's starting to feel this squeeze in. But I think it's something you really can push back on by driving all of these expenses down. Um, as a minimum, you can sure get back to where we were before all this inflation, but I think lead a really better life.
amen to that. Yeah, because folks definitely gonna be needing this for the future, indeed. So my goodness, and that even just the now too, especially when the U.S. version comes out. It's like, yeah, that's right. The American burger's coming to you, baby. That's right.
Well, the US version, I literally got a note back from the editor today saying, okay, I've got all the edits. I'll be putting them up in Dropbox, and then we're going to work on a revised cover. So it's really exciting to have done it. And there was a number of differences between Canada and the US, which were quite interesting. So I had to go back to school on some things that are just handled differently here. But in general, I would say that there's more opportunity here to lower these bills than there is in Canada. There's more choice here, and there's, in some cases, things like prescription drugs. They start at a higher price point, but there's more room to get them lowered down. There's more opportunities, I think, in pretty much every category, inclusive of financial. There's a lot of interesting lifestyle opportunity. Things lower the cost of family activities or date night or whatever you're doing. Really, pretty much across the board. Transportation, all kinds of things that make a big difference. Is there any areas that you want me to touch on that would be interesting for your listeners?
Ah, good question, indeed. Because as you're going through, I'm like, wow, I wonder how many other differences there are. Because I noticed on the top of the book is a Canadian edition, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. And it's kind of interesting too. So my goodness. Let's see another good area. Let's see. Well, since it's basically summertime when this goes out, how about lifestyle? That's probably a good one.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of them. In the lifestyle, when we talk about travel, one of the things that's interesting is, people tend to start with a country in mind. Hey, I haven't been to, let's say, Greece or whatever. One of the things right back at the beginning, when you think about travel, is you can think about what's the currency happening in each of these countries. So if you're in a time where, let's say I don't know, the currency in Greece is falling or the French franc is falling, well, that could be a great time to travel to one of those countries. So you might think, instead of saying, hey, I need to go to this particular country, you might say, hey, I'm interested in these 3 different countries. Have a quick peek to see what's been happening with the dollar in those countries. Because if you've got the strength of the US dollar, and if it's been rising against the drachma or the franc or the euro, whatever it is, then pick the country where we've got the strongest currency, and that may be a place to zero in on. So that's one. Staying with the whole idea of travel, if you can book more than 2 weeks in advance, that can make a huge difference. Some of these alternative hotels are pretty interesting. Airbnb can represent, dramatic savings versus the big name chain hotels. So there's lots of different ideas there. Um, that can make a pretty big difference. It's interesting. I was looked at a little bit at sort of date night or family activities, and that's another place that can really make quite a difference. You can go to some of the big box stores like Costco. This isn't true as much in Canada, but here in the US, you can get discount restaurant cards. So you can get, $100 of restaurant food at a particular chain of restaurants, you buy the cards for 85 cents on the dollar. So, you've already brought it down. Another thing that's really interesting is some of these kind of offline entertainment opportunities. There's a place called, I think it's Brown Bag Tickets or something of that nature. And they're these sort of small theaters that you wouldn't think of. You think about going to the show. Here in Cleveland, we've got a huge theater district. You might want to go to Playhouse Square, but there's these smaller theaters, and the tickets are, $25 to go see a great show. Or some going out to the minor league baseball games. There's just so many things you can do to bring down that cost of that lifestyle kind of entertainment.
Good suggestions indeed, especially with the overseas travel, because you're so right, especially the way things are going now financially. It's like, oh, sweet. So let's see how that dollar compares. So does it have the big six-pack ab strength right now, or does it just have the whole flat dad bod belly size type of thing? Metaphorically speaking.
Yeah, that's a way of looking at it for sure.
Oh man, that is freaking gold right there. That's freaking gold, and something that a lot of folks probably don't even consider indeed. So, fun question I love to ask folks, and this is going to be an interesting answer considering the type of book this is. So, if Cashflow Cookbook was a food, what would it be and why?
Oh man, this one this one I've not had. Well, I would say an avocado. Yeah, I could probably elaborate on that.
Yeah, go ahead and elaborate.
So, they say that avocado is the perfect food, right? It's got everything in it. Every vitamin, every mineral, the healthy fats, protein, everything you need, it's all in an avocado. So I think of the book in that way because it kind of covers every aspect of your life. And there's a way of improving your finances in every aspect of the life. And very often, again, this notion of completeness, very often the ideas in the book, not only are they less costly without giving anything up, but in many cases, they're healthier if it's a food kind of thing. And in lots of cases, they're actually better for the environment. They're less wasteful. So it's this complete idea, like an avocado.
Yep, there we go. There we go indeed. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, indeed. I think you might be the second person to say avocado for their book, so that's good. That's definitely good. That's right.
You got to introduce me to the other person. You got me curious.
Yes, indeed. Now I need to think back because I've asked that question at least 50 times now, and I'm like, oh god, which one? And they weren't, and it wasn't even a finance book either. That's the other thing too. So I was like, okay, which one was it?
It was an avocado book. That's why they picked it. Kind of cheating.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Well, we're coming down to the magical question that every guest gets to receive, and that is if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're still in 2022 with all of your knowledge and experience, what advice would you give to yourself?
I just had this conversation with my wife. Honestly, I'd read my own book. There's so many things I would have done differently in setting up my finances. I did lots of things right. There's a lot of things that I would have done differently, getting into pension plans or different ideas of saving that, today would be worth millions. So, I think, for people, I think it's all about knowledge, learning something. We've been talking a lot about finance, but I think, that 21-year-old self, you don't want to, or 20-year-old self, you don't want a lot of input from anyone because you're on your own, you're figuring it out. But there's so much wisdom on everything from how to set up your finances, how to eat healthy. You only get one body. When you're 20, you think you're invincible. And when you get to 60, you realize maybe you're not invincible. So, there's opportunities on everything from, what partner to pick, what line of work to get into. I'd say go get some help from a gray-haired person if you're a 20-year-old. There's a lot of wisdom out there.
That's right, folks. Go get help from a gray-haired person, y'all. That's right, indeed. A true gray-haired person. We got freaking teenagers dyeing their hair gray now, so definitely found a real gray-haired person out there. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. Because I got that silver for you, y'all. That's right, indeed. That silver that's really platinum. That's right, indeed. My man Gordon's got a bunch of platinum in his fabulous book, indeed. That's right. You got the Gordon Ramsay of personal finance, except he's not going to cuss you out, though.
Nothing's on fire.
That too, exactly. That's right, except for book sales. So, for those that need to keep in contact with you and buy some copies of your marvelous books and share with their friends and family, heck, maybe even a camel and have it hump it all the way to the folks overseas, what's the best way for folks to do so?
Well, if you want to get a copy, well, I would suggest, first of all, they can go to cashflowcookbook.com is my website, the same as the name of the book. And there's blog posts, there's all kinds of more ideas out there. All that's free. If they want to get a copy of Cashflow Cookbook and go through it methodically and go through each bill with all the details on how to improve all of that, you can get the book on Amazon in every country around the world. So the Canadian edition is out as we speak here, end of April of 2022. Very shortly, around the 1st of June, we'll have the US edition out there. Either edition can be had in any country. And really, all of it would work. Whether you're in Australia, things will be slightly different, but the same tools and concepts. So pick which country of Canada, the US is closest to yours, and grab the book on Amazon and subscribe on cashflowcookbook.com. You get free blog posts and lots of other goodies to help people out.
Woohoo! Well, there you have it, folks. My man's got you covered. A lot of folks may do their meal plans for the week. My man's got a meal plan for your finances for the rest of your life, indeed, y'all. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. You'll have a pot belly. You'll have a piggy bank that will be the size of 11 benevolent elephants, y'all. That's right. That's right, indeed. Because my man's got you covered like a blanket, indeed. So check him out, indeed. We'll put all the link to his wonderful stuff in the show notes so you can subscribe and keep up with all the good stuff Gordon's doing. So any parting words before we close up shop?
I think you're definitely the funniest podcaster that I've ever seen. You keep doing what you're doing. I think that you're doing people a great service. I look at some of your episodes. I want to go back and listen to a bunch more, but just absolutely fabulous. So thanks for bringing everything you're bringing to the world, Dom. Really appreciate it.
Thanks a bunch for sharing some of your time out of your day to listen to the Going North podcast. I would be really honored if you head over to the website goingnorthpodcast.com and share this episode with someone that you care about. And also, for bonus points, if you like, click on the shop tab on the website and grab some gear, advance others to advance yourself if you haven't already. Have a great rest of your day and keep advancing north to your greatness.